Hey Saints fans, want to hit you with today's video, really focusing on Erik McCoy, who is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks after his injury against the Eagles. And I wanted to really show y'all what the blocking game, specifically the running game, looked like in this video after he went down, and talking about what it looked like as he went down. Take a look at that injury. Now, go ahead and warn y'all, number one, this video is not going to be as clean as some of the other ones. I'm kind of on a time crunch with work stuff, but still trying to give you all some of the film study that you need, as well as show you some of the concepts that the Eagles use to have success against New Orleans and how you can kind of watch out for them in the future. Who dat? God bless. Appreciate y'all, and roll it. All right, everybody, so we're going to start with the actual injury, and I want to be very clear, I'm not a doctor, so don't expect me to provide some deep medical analysis, but I do want to show you how it happens and then what the team looked like. Now, the first thing I kind of want to highlight is actually how you're getting faced off with this Eagles defense, and I would actually argue that coming in, this was a tough matchup. I remember noting on both the podcast and Twitter or X, and I said, this is going to be a difficult game. I expected, because Vic Fangio's defense and how they like to align, I don't feel like New Orleans focuses the best against. I'm not saying they can't win. I think that they played a very close game. But anyway, you saw a lot of stuff like this. You saw 5-man fronts, 6-man fronts. You saw a lot of traditional 3-4 type of looks, whether it be 3-4 Okie, 3-4 Eagle. Not really trying to get into the deepness of what all those are, the 3-4 under front. The simple answer is the difference between the 3-4 looks amongst themselves, like the Eagle and everything, is who's two-gapping? Is anybody two-gapping? Are they playing one gap? Are they doing 4 eyes? Are they doing 6 techs, etc.? Not trying to get into that nitty-gritty. It's more of just kind of showcasing. You see some of the plays on the field and how they played out. So let's watch it full speed, and then we'll talk about it. Again, this is going to be the play with McCoy's injury. See your typical motion there, which you like. We're pulling. Trevor Penning is getting beat kind of there immediately, but we're still making room. AK gets kind of jammed in. You see there's McCoy getting right into his groin, immediately reaching for it, and just kind of gets twisted up the wrong way with this log jam that happens up front. And the biggest thing is, honestly, in my opinion, is Jaylen Carter, who I feel like in this game played at an all-pro level. Now, if you talk to a lot of the Eagles film study guys, they'll tell you that his thing has been consistency. Can he consistently be that dominant force? How he played against New Orleans, any coach would kill to have. Right, just absolutely dominant. In fact, he's the one right here on this side that we're going to talk about taking on and forcing this to bounce outside. Does a great job to take that outside. And I think Penning does a decent job to recover. And then obviously Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara. But that is the initial issue, is what happens when they put hats on hats. And a lot of times you're going to see them run a true nose right over the center, which was particularly problematic when Lucas Patrick has to slide over. We'll take a look at some of those plays. But this is the injury play. Just horrible play that happens, gets twisted the wrong way, and ends up being an uh-oh. All right, moving on to next play. Let's move on to this run play and discuss it. Now, this is where you have Udo coming in as the left guard, and then we have moved Patrick in at center. So he's supposed to pull here. This could be one of those kind of we're pinning everybody down, we're pulling to that backside, and he tries to come across, just absolutely whiffs. And the immediate thing you're going to see here is that lack of mobility and that lack of play strength, as well as you're going to see a lot of fundamental issues here. So Cesar Ruiz does a good job. It's not a great job. You can see he's losing some of that inside pressure, that inside hand placement's getting to him and everything. But for the most part, everybody does their job except for the pulling guard, who misses completely. And Zach Bond gets a good play on Alvin Kamara. I don't necessarily think this is a abysmally bad thing. I do want to note that as Clint Kubiak, you've got to make adjustments to what is being presented to you defensively. I don't feel like he did a good job this day. And again, told y'all, Clint Kubiak can't be expected to do 40 points every game. He's going to have learning problems. He's going to have growth problems. But this is some of the traditional stuff that we've seen from New Orleans these first couple weeks, simply being negated about how they're lining up with these fronts, bringing the people down at the box, down at the bottom, try to force some immediate contact and win mano a mano, and they have some good matchups there. You see Udo just not able to provide that clean out. But again, this a lot of times comes down to simply, do you play fundamentally well as a team? And what I really want to point out through all this is That's probably my biggest issue. You saw fundamental issues, not just from the backups, but you started seeing it from the starters. And truthfully, in the NFL, it only takes one player to mess up and you lose it all, because this could have been, had this block been executed correctly, a 7-8 yard game. Instead, ends up going for essentially a nothing burger. Let's move on to another play here. And we're going to have, I love this type of a look. We're in the gun. We've got two backs. We're showing this kind of split look. We can go either direction with either guy. I love this as a look. And it actually gave New Orleans an advantage because you, for the first time in a while, you're not getting an 8-man box here. But how does it actually play out? And the biggest thing here, again, comes back to fundamentals. So we're doing that zone run to the right. And again, Udoh can't get to the second level. This is something that McCoy would do very well. And even Patrick was doing better in that left guard spot, getting the second level and cleaning this up. Instead, he's not able to make that move. Fuaga, I think, does a good job here on the left side. Great job turning that out. Great down block there by the wide receiver. He's got the positioning, isn't able to finish it out, and you end up getting a short gain that could have been much better had your offensive lineman made it to the second level. And this is an issue with McCoy going down, is how it's affecting everybody else. Right? You can have a horrible matchup for Trevor Penning and him having to take on Jaylen Carter, who's lined up as a 4-eye or a 6, or something like that. But you can still generally have success unless you have a fundamental breakdown of style. And that's what you had here. You actually had everything you wanted. The slide, if you will, of the Eagles defense was in your favor, right? Because they were playing AK's side here. You see Bond really hyping in and honing in on AK in the entire game. They've got the positioning they want here to their advantage, but as the play rolls out, it's that one missed block. AK can't escape. Ends up being a nothing burger. Next up on the list, because we got plenty of these plays to get through, I promise you that. This time we're have some backside penetration and front side, both Udoh and Penning losing, and this is a big box. This is a 7-man box. Not even that necessarily traditional front, but 6-man down. Right, so we've taken our wides. Instead of our linebackers lining up and say a tan-0-tan, which would be tackle, zero technique, tackle, we've got them down underneath on both sides, both strong side and weak side, down on the line, and what is essentially like wide 9 techniques here to really cause some havoc. So here's the handoff. This is what you got. Huge backside penetration, so much so that Udoh gets blown up so much right here, it actually affects Fuaga. Fuaga cannot continue his block because of the guy in his way now. And that becomes a big deal because that's the guy that makes the tackle. Trevor Penning also loses to Jaylen Carter here. Now, I don't expect Trevor Penning to beat Jaylen Carter a lot. I don't. But the combination of Trevor Penning losing here to Jaylen Carter and Udoh getting driven back, which ruins Fuaga's block. Like, I don't blame Fuaga here, but it essentially ends up being 3 offensive linemen lose. Not that Fuaga is technically at fault here. He can't do anything. But that closes this rushing lane. If only one of the guys had failed here, maybe it works. But 2 failed. And I saw people talking about Cesar Ruiz had a rough day. Cesar Ruiz did not have a strong day. But I think Cesar Ruiz looked worse compared to everybody else, just simply based on what was happening around him. So this time you had 2 guys lose. But one of those losses directly influenced another lineman, causing his block to get away. And you have 3 of your 5 fail. You're not going to win football with this type of work. And that's why, for me, the big thing is harping on fundamentals. New Orleans has got to get better fundamentally so they don't have these type of issues. And we saw this team play very fundamentally well through 2 games. But remember, it's how do you perform when you get under the bullet, under the gun, the strife hits you. Here's you another one. Again, just Penning, getting beat off the run, and it ends up being a big loss. It's not necessarily horrible across the line. Look at everybody here. Look at Ruiz. Look at Patrick. That's a good job. Patrick's doing a good job to now break off, get to the second level. Udoh's got a solid block there. Not great. You see Fuaga again running into that same issue where that left guard is getting in the way of him continuing his block. But even then, it's a reach block. Hard to do. But see, get in the way right there. It gets broken up. Biggest though is Penning getting driven 2-3 yards off the ball. I mean, come on. There's nothing else to say. Penning gets absolutely demolished. One player cost it. You got to tackle for a loss. So it's not just on Udoh. This is needing everybody to play fundamentally well. This was not just a McCoy went down and one person played bad. It's McCoy went down, and then at the same time, everybody started losing. Next up, another outside zone to the right. We're going to see Ruiz have what I call a just half-ass drag arm. I don't try to use profanity much around here, but come on, man. This is Jaylen Carter. Like, he's basically the Carter 2 album. Like, the man is the best. What is this? So, in an outside zone, I've talked about this a lot. Remember, the whole point of zone is we want to block an area of the field, right? We're moving to an area. But at the same time, you've got to secure the first level. So, yes, from a fundamentally blocking standpoint, how the outside zone works, when you're a head up on a guy, odds are he's not your guy. That's just simply how zone works, because if you're zone running to the right, you're moving as a group to the right. He's likely going to be backside. But like this half A-word drag arm, that's Jaylen Carter. So who this man ends up being is Lucas Patrick. You got to help your guy out. Like, jam that shoulder, something. That little hello, that's not going to cut it. Okay? I get it. Your assignment is bringing you over. You've got to at least get a decent chip on this guy. And I'm sorry, having Jaylen Carter do this is not good enough. That's Jaylen Carter. Like, that's Ruiz. You've got to do more. Your star center is down. Your left guard's had to move over as the backup. He is not Erik McCoy. I need you to take on the premier 3-tech of the future. And I can look, that's not a shot at Brian Brzee. One thing about Jaylen Carter that separates him from Brzee, Jaylen Carter is equally dominant in run and pass. Brzee is pretty damn good in pass, still has a long way to go as a run defender. Jaylen Carter does both. You saw this on film. You knew he was disruptive. That is not going to cut it, right? We can talk about Udo being a backup and having struggles. He's the backup. I expect him to struggle. Offensive linemen are hard to find, right? That's not even a bad job. That's fine. But when your right guard gives the most limp-wristed shot on their star defensive lineman and you're expecting the backup center to cross his face, you're asking for a bad play, especially when you had nobody in your gap to go to anyway, right? Again, I understand the premise of outside zone blocking. You're moving to a zone. You're blocking an area of the field. I get it as a concept, but you've got nobody you're reaching to anyway. Give me something, man. Give me more than this limp-wristed drag arm. Punch him half-man, attack that half-man's shoulder, and then move up. Not this little, oh, here's the snap, here's my motion, bing, I touched him. I need more. I need more. I expect you to do more when your guy is down. I get it. If Erik McCoy's there, you trust Erik McCoy to be my best offensive lineman versus their best defensive lineman. I get it. That's not the case, Ruiz. You've got to know. It's Patrick right there. No offense, Patrick. It's Patrick right there. It's Jaylen Carter. All right, I'm getting way too much on this one. Let's move it on to another play because stuff like this is the fundamentals I'm talking about. Like, I get it. I'm on one play too much. All right, this is another one where just fundamentally this team was bad today or Sunday, and this is a great example of how Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara aren't even facing the right direction on this handoff. Like, and that's not the only problem, by the way, because then you have two guys run into each other to block the same guy, right? So you got Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr can't figure out where the handoff is. I don't know who to blame there, and I'm frustrated at this point. I've only done 6 plays to show you that the whole offensive film study was a little bit of a frustration. Then you get this right here. Like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Seriously, guys. Prentice has done well this year. I'm not trying to be a hater, but like, that's not good. Like, he finally gets off the block to get off on Zach Bond, but like, come on. Now, how does this happen? Number one, Foster Moreau, you don't stop. Drive through the damn block. He stopped, and that caused Pennis to stop. You got to drive through the block. Like, come on, man. We teach this in junior high. That's why I got drilled into me by coach. Maybe he was wrong, but right here, you're stopping. Drive through him. Like, run, block him, not catch him. Block him. Don't run across the field and stop at the left guard. Block him. Run through him. Put your face mask into his chest and drive. Take your hands on the other side of the inside of his pads and drive. Don't come up here and stop at the left guard and then catch the end. Drive. And then Prentice, pay attention, because you don't want this either. So it's fundamentals, right? And it should be noted, Fuaga, great drive block back here, baby. Udo, good job. Patrick, great job. Like, literally, you turned him parallel to the line of scrimmage. Good job. Trevor Penning, good job. But again, like right here, between the handoff being cattywampus and then Foster Moreau not running through his block to get to his spot, instead catching the guy, got to play fundamentally well against good teams. These ROEs, not going to talk about you getting thrown to the ground right now. I'm focusing on the left side. I've already got enough negativity in my voice. Don't need to focus on you on the right side. Just things like that, man. Like, run through the block. I don't know what this is either. Like, what's this? What's this? Block. And Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, figure out what the play is. All right. Whew. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not. Rotate. Look, I don't think this team is secretly bad. I don't. I feel like they had a bad game and they played very poorly. I felt like when Erik McCoy went down, it definitely messed with the offensive line, caused a lot of communication issues, definitely messed with the blocking assignments. But at the same time, the root that need to be focused on is playing fundamentally well. They were doing that for 2 weeks, so we know they can, right? So this isn't just a, oh, the Saints are secretly awful. That's not what this film says about. It's a, why did it happen? How can they fix it? Key answer, fundamental play from the player standpoint. From an offensive play calling standpoint, well, you got to adjust, baby. Clint Kubiak, don't just keep running your face into a brick wall. Where were the mesh concepts, hang concepts, smash concepts, the short passing game, right? Those curl flats, those slants, those anything to force them out of that 8-man box that's just breathing down your neck. Got to make adjustments. Those are my thoughts, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like it, subscribe to it. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what went down. Hopefully it gets Atlanta. It won't be that way. Who dat? God bless. Catch you on the next one. Deuces. Let me know what you want to see on the next film study.